Welcome to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Kim is a psychotherapist and executive director of ICU Talks, a mental health speaking ministry. This is a podcast about how to flip your lid and learning how to reconnect to who you really are.
Well, hey, Flip Your Lid audience. It's been a little while since I've been able to sit with you, and very glad to be back. It's 2023, and my first guest intentionally for this year is my slightly younger brother. And by brother, I do not mean biological, but we are brother and sister. This is Kevin Sweeney. You'll have heard Kevin before. He is the host of the podcast, The Church Needs Therapy. There's never been a truer statement than that. So, hey, Kevin, welcome back.
Which Kim has been a guest on, by the way. If anybody wants to go listen to that, it's a great episode.
Right. Don't listen to anybody else. There's like a bunch of big names. Don't listen to them.
Skip past whatever's there and just scroll down until you see Kim. Then that's the one you start with.
Who wants to hear Jonathan Martin again? Who wants to do that? No. Forget it. Just go hear Kim Honeycutt. So, but anyway, it's good to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's special. First one of 2023.
Yeah.
Starting off with, and I think the intentionality of it is good, starting with letting go, because I think the tendency of something new is let's add more, let's do more. And perhaps sometimes what we actually need for the newness we desire is not the adding of more, but the clearing out, the decluttering, which, happens through some letting go and some allowing some things to be removed from the living room of our inner life. So I think this is good.
Yeah. So I think we're going to talk about some emotional and spiritual decluttering, the internal resources, your internal house. So, but we have to start the way we always start. So, and that is, and please let this lead into our understanding, letting go and surrender. But Kevin, tell us what recently has flipped your lid, and what measures have you done to help yourself reconnect to who you actually are?
Yeah, well, with the part of the question being recently, I may have talked about this on the first episode, depending on when we recorded it, but in May of last year, my wife and I closed down the church that we started and led for about a decade.
Yeah, you were on the verge of that, and I don't even know if that part got recorded, if that was just you and I talking. So please talk about that, because talk about identity and the tendency to over-identify and let something go. It'd be being the pastor of a congregation, of church, of people that you love, and you have walked away, right, in faith from that. Yep. So update us. How are you emotionally with that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Last Christmas, so 2 Christmases ago, so Christmas 2021, my wife and I essentially together made the decision. We were going towards that, where we knew this is not a rebuilding chapter of our church like we anticipated in the fall of 2021. This is it is the last chapter, but it's not a rebuilding one.
I see.
And we went to reopen our church in the fall of 2021. And when I sensed the Spirit inviting us into a new chapter, and it'd be about a 2-year rebuild, probably 4 to 6 weeks in, I started to get this sense of this isn't a rebuilding chapter. And the metaphor in my mind immediately went to like relating towards the church. We're going to put her in hospice care.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And that helps. That metaphor and guiding imagery during a tough season helped me make sense of the way you relate to a living being when you're trying to preserve and sustain and restore the life is drastically different than the way you relate to a being when you're saying, hey, it's actually not about quantity, it's about quality.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to make this go longer. It's an invitation to be as present and alive and as awake as you can possibly be while this is still here.
Yeah.
And so that imagery really guided me in that last season. Christmas, we make a decision. We announced last January, and we just said, hey, we're going to have this last 6-month journey. No more liturgy, no more sermons. I have no more energy for that. But back at our house, like we live in a tower, so there's a public kind of amenity deck. Like, we're gonna eat and drink and hang out. We're gonna make room for all, because we're closing something down. So let's make room for all your questions. Let's make room for what you're feeling and thinking. Let's enjoy this last 6 months. Whoever wants to come on this journey can come on this journey. And when we announced last January, really actually right about now, like right now, I may have been going into the weekend. Actually, you know what? It's probably a year ago right now I was about to announce.
Wow, that's
now that I make that connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on a Sunday, we announced we were closing, and through tears and laughter, my wife and I, doing our thing, the first response of the congregation was to stand up and give us a standing ovation.
Wow. That's actually surprising for me to hear that. That's beautiful.
And it doesn't mean people didn't have questions. It doesn't mean people didn't have any form of hurt or wondering or confusion or whatever. But what they led with was grace. That's why in my new book, The Joy of Letting Go, in the acknowledgement section, I said, thank you to Imagine for letting us let go into grace. Because that's what we were met with.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Yeah, the question of flipping your lid and identity, as you bring up so wisely, it's very hard, I think, for a lot of pastors to imagine and be excited about a life beyond their congregational role.
Yes, very much.
And that was, I think, one of the reasons why my wife and I could let go, which it doesn't mean there wasn't grief. It doesn't mean it was easy, but why we could do it from a place of acceptance and excitement for the future was neither one of us were so over-identified with that role that we couldn't imagine a life beyond that church.
Yeah. Okay, so break that down. How did you get there emotionally? Because I love your story, because part of why I metaphorically fell in love with you. Clearly, I don't have the ability to fall in love with you that way. You know that, right? So I don't mean it that way, but just mean I had such respect and admiration for you. Was the whole thing about you not having to deconstruct your faith because you met Jesus when you were tripping on shrooms, right? You got me, you got my heart the minute someone speaks that candidly and vulnerably, right? And so to be in that and then know you're not completely been constructed in a framework of religion that's so restrictive and earning mentality. So I understand that. But break it down for our audience a little bit of did you curate this congregation in a way, were they groomed over time in a healthy way of balance when it comes to connection and expectations that led to this?
I think, just not always explicitly, but implicitly and assumed in the atmosphere and the environment and the culture of the church wasn't a codependency from our end as leaders. And I'll speak specifically for myself from my end, where there's a lot of things I don't do well pastoring. I'm terrible in organizational leadership.
Yeah.
I will be late responding to your text message. 6 years into Imagine, I would still Google sometimes before a meeting, what do I do in a meeting, even though I was the lead pastor.
That's great. Yeah.
The human emotional maturity side of leading were the things I was actually good at. So how do you lead people while being liberated from them? How can I love people without needing to control them? How can I welcome and include people into my life without needing to control the process of their journey? I'm here as a guide.
Right.
I am a pastor insofar as you allow me to guide you. I don't need you to respond to me any particular way. I don't need you to be further on your journey than where you are for me to be present to you. So that sense of freedom from my end towards the congregation naturally regulates certain forms of codependency and creates an environment where there's a healthier, you're you without me.
Yeah. That's right.
You were you before me and you'll be you without me. I'm here as a guide during whatever season we have. And I, along the way, consciously knew, and not just conceptually, but felt and realized for myself, oh, I'm not Imagine. That was the name of our church.
Yeah.
Imagine is the primary vehicle through which the life of God is flowing through me and as me for the sake of the world.
Right.
And one day that vehicle will change. And
Right.
it's not, and I always had a sense when we started, I'm going to do this for about a decade. That's just what I thought.
Right.
And it ended up being that too, just about.
Yeah.
So I could love and give and preach and care and listen to people. But at the same time, I wasn't the pastor who's like, I'm creating my own little isolated kingdom that I'm the Lord of, which I think a lot of pastors do unconsciously, to be honest.
Yes.
No, this is how I'm choosing to give myself to the world. And one day that will change. So that lack of over-identification with the role, I am not that role. These are the things I'm doing to care for people right now. One day the role will change, but the structure of your life can change, but the substance can remain. I knew the forms can change, but the flow, the life, the God, the energy, the love, when I close Imagine, that's not an identity crisis. Right. I'm still me.
Yeah, right. Okay, so tell people about this, because that is beautiful to hear. It's refreshing to my heart to hear. And it is easy in a position of authority because people subconsciously go into parent-child relationships with their pastor, right? And so they will have a second childhood in the church. And that's part of how, in my opinion, congregants remain oppressed and repressed, is because they are trying to resolve something from childhood that wasn't finished, wasn't complete, right? And so whatever the pastor said is true. Whatever the pastor wants me to do is I'll do. Whatever I'm not allowed to do is okay, because it still feels so familiar to your nervous system based on what you learned first as a child, right? So for you went in with some consciousness of this, some consciousness of observing your own thoughts, but also knowing people would still bring that pain to you with an expectation of make it better for me. What were your techniques, your inventory or observation? Like, how did you practice not going into that role or taking more on than you needed to?
Yeah, first of all, the insights and wisdom within these questions for people listening, you should, not everybody has the insights and the wisdom that Kim has to ask these amazing questions and to give the insights along the way. So for people listening, it's good that you're listening, because you have a great guide here for you.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that.
I think I had no desire to play that fatherly role in people's lives. I mean, it's just circumstantial. We were 28 when we started the church.
Right.
I ain't nobody's daddy at 28 for these 20-year-old kids or whoever.
Right.
And I think I always approached it as a guide and as an older brother, like a sibling. I could be the big brother. When I was the youngest, but I was like, I always wanted a little brother to be like, let me show you how this works. That's how I looked after my friends growing up. I naturally did that. I wanted to look out for people. The pastoral was in me, even when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think, I can be totally comfortable embracing the spiritual authority that comes from trust, and not position, but trust in a relationship, in that sibling. I am here to be a guide for you. I can embrace that and continue to push responsibility for your life back onto you.
Yeah, that's good.
All of my answers won't save you. I can give you guidance and help you have clarity, but your courage, your faith, you owning the agency of your life, you making decisions, that's what's going to open up the possibilities God has for you. Not my wisdom can help give you the clarity, but it's actually your courage and agency that's going to determine whether or not you move forward. So I think the leader has to keep pushing back. Responsibility, like, no, this is your life.
Yeah, that's good.
And you can do whatever you and they can feel the gravity of my energy. Like, I don't need you to do this for me. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over you making self-destructive decisions.
Yeah, that's so helpful. So balanced.
I'm here to invite you into the future. I don't need this for me, for my ego. I'm going to sleep well at night, whether you say yes to this courageous decision or no. I'm here for you, but I am me. Boundaries define where I end and you begin. I am me, you're you. I'm a guide, and I will give my life to you as a guide, but that's what I am. I'm not responsible for your decisions.
Yeah. So
and people can feel that. They can feel that.
They can read that energy. That's so healthy that if you're listening to this and something is getting sparked in you, then, because really somebody can be listening going, but ... because it's the codependency, the phony trauma response is still there. The stuff that got taught to people of what a pastor is supposed to be and who you're supposed to be to the pastor, that you are exemplifying a new way, right? And this could be the way, because this is the path of health. You're so balanced in it. Again, you're not over identifying with it. Therefore, you don't become the other person's problem. So you're also not their savior. Right?
So good.
I so wish every church.
And that is where one of my hearts, because I really, really love and respect pastors, because it's a very challenging thing to do. It's a lot. It's more than people will realize what the toll it takes on people. And my heart is like, I'm not the guy who's like, I'm going to help you be more strategic. I'm going to help you implement these 7 principles for exponential. Like, I don't care. And I'm not good at that, even if I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But what I do care about and what I get is I want this pastor to have more joy and more peace 3 years from now than they do right now. And actually, that's the kind of stuff I actually get.
Yeah.
You know, like, and because I want the people who have given their lives to invite other people into the river to experience the joy of floating on it for themselves.
That's so good. So, I can just feel that. That is so good. Okay. So, I don't ever prepare for like these talks. Like, I just show up and see what happens. I did pull a couple of quotes of things.
Nice.
Right. But let me say this in true transparency, that it's because I'm working on a talk. My next talk I'm doing at my church. And so, of course, it's lined up with your new book, right? About surrender and joy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So let me read to you. This is a quote by Esther Perel. Esther Perel is one of the top 3 leading therapists in America, the world, wherever. Okay. So she's a top dog. This is her quote. Love rests on 2 pillars, surrender and autonomy. Our need for togetherness exists alongside our need for separateness. One does not exist without the other. So I just want your reaction to that, because I can tell you, I can't give you definition of love. I can give you definition for hate, rage, bitterness, resentment without even thinking about it. But to define love. And so I just want to see how you want to sit with what I just read to you from Esther.
Love. Unconditional love is a liberating force.
Yeah.
Liberates you. If I love you, if I'm in a relationship, if I love you, what my love is doing is liberating you to be fully you and inviting me to be liberated to be fully me, even as we're connected.
Yes.
That's one of the great mysteries of connection.
Yeah.
It's one of the great mysteries of how do you not just grow individually in your life, but if you have a partner in a romantic sense, how do you evolve together? Because you're growing, I'm growing, you're changing, I'm changing. We do not have the same structure of our relationship as we did 20 years ago. And yet there's still the depth of this essence, this space that we share together that is us while we still remain individuals. That's an amazing, mysterious thing. And that quote of, she said autonomy. What was the first one?
So it's surrender, which is part of why I thought about you, and autonomy. So in understanding the difference, like I would love to hear your definition of surrender, right? And autonomy is a little easier. It's self-governing, what you talked about earlier. It's having agency over self. And so the 2 pillars of surrender and agents and self-governing autonomy in relationship, right? How much time you need alone, how much time you need together, being allowed to depend on somebody. So in that, and in your book, how are you defining surrender?
So those 2, the surrender and autonomy is, it feels impossible to give myself fully to somebody and surrendering my need to control them along the way. That can feel impossible.
Yeah.
I give myself, I open my heart, I give myself fully to you while knowing this maddening, crazy, and accepting this maddening and crazy reality that I don't know what you're going to do with that. And yet I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to keep my heart open. I'm still going to give myself to you and love you, even though I know I cannot control how you're going to respond to that. But if I can do that, that's what freedom tastes like, is the ability to do that. Because to be freed from the response of anybody else to how you do things is what allows the authenticity of your own voice to emerge, because I'm no longer morphing it and shaping it to get people to like me for who I'm not or embrace me for parts of me, when I'm giving the wholeness of myself to this world and allowing anybody to do anything, to respond to it however they want. Because the mystery of the mystics and the people who are deeply known by God is there's nothing you can do or say to me that can take away anything essential from who I am ever.
That's so
even
powerful.
If I get heartbroken, even if I go through something traumatic, and parts of me feel stolen, or parts of me are stolen, and I go through a long journey of trying to help bring those back together, there's a fundamental essence, the truth of who I am, that can't be taken. And so surrendering, one, that to me is for social workers, for healers, for therapists, for pastors especially, but it's just true for anybody who's daring to love in this world. Anybody. Can I love, which is to give love by its very nature is giving myself, no withholding, no protecting, giving myself fully and allowing that to be an offering and not something I'm trying to use to get something from other people. That's what love feels like. That's what giving feels like. And, Cynthia Bourgeault, who I think her work is just unmatched as one of the great living mystics. She works out of Rohr's Center for Action and Contemplation. Her book, Wisdom Jesus, which was written 13 years ago, to me is one of the best books on Jesus ever. When you look at someone writing from further, more evolved stages and states of consciousness, her view of Jesus and that vision is unmatched to me.
Wow.
It's called Wisdom Jesus by Cynthia. I think it's Bourgeault because it looks like a French name. I'm not sure, but that's what I assume. But she describes letting go, and she the real feel of it. She says it's felt essentially as an inner drop and a release. So what I say in the book is letting go is like a loosening of the clenched muscles in your body that are holding us together, and a surrendering of the defense mechanisms in our mind that protect us from pain. I say it's like a relaxing of our vulnerable heart and emerging into the greater love of the spirit. So I say letting go is a sacred handing over. And even to use metaphors, because so often that's what we use to describe love. It's what we use to describe God. It's all metaphors. So I say letting go it feels like a conscious removing of multiple layers of the very clothes that have been covering us for as long as we remember, followed by this naked and exposed presenting of ourselves to the possible daring presence of a loving God or a benevolent reality or whatever the hell it is that holds all this together, depending on how you describe that.
Sure.
And so I feel like letting go actually registers in your body, and it almost feels like if you could see me on camera, it's like you're holding your chest and your chest is tight, and all of a sudden you just relax and your body uncoils, and it's like these big swinging doors open to your heart, and you're like, I'm just done protecting myself or holding on and clinging to this thing. And I just have to let it go. I have to surrender. I have to trust that when I let go of this clinging, I'm falling into something good.
Okay. I love your word choice. I love how you put things together. I want to tell you, I researched what surrender means in general and also just what surrender means in the Bible. Okay. So, and the first definition came up is just submissiveness. And so the level of nausea that I have, I just even hearing the word of being submissive. So that's just there. So to surrender spirituality and religion means a believer completely gives up his, which means I don't have to because it says his, doesn't say hers. His own will.
You can use the loopholes of the patriarchal, only using male pronouns in the Bible. That's for he.
Didn't say anything about me. I'm out. I don't have to surrender based on this because I'm a literal learner. So it's given up his own will and subjects his thoughts, ideas, and deeds to the will and teachings of a higher power. All right. So biblical definition of surrender. Listen to this, Kevin. Listen to this. Surrender means accepting that the battle has been won, not on your terms, and you're willfully giving your life over to the authority of the winning side. It means taking a humble position and embracing what is over how you would have had it. How you would have it. Okay. I just don't know where to go with this. It says that I am giving over to the winning side and I'm humble. How do I decide I'm on the winning side and stay humble? How do I believe that surrender means I win, others don't, and that's humble? Because that's how I read that. And I think why your book is so important is that this is the first kind of thing that someone Googles surrender in the Christian world comes up, and it's not actually what you're saying. Not at least not in the way you're saying, in a way that I can practice it. I can visualize it. When I read that, I leave my essence. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
You know, I write in I think probably the intro to the book, every time you let go, you begin again.
That's good.
And every time you begin again, a part of you is born again.
Yeah.
So one with letting go, you know, the title is a paradox, you know, the joy of letting go.
Right.
Letting go doesn't feel like a joy while you're doing it, because it's not. Letting go is a form of dying.
Right.
You're dying to expectations you had on people, on your life, on the world. You're dying to the way you thought things were supposed to work out. You're dying to illusions you had about how life works. This is letting go of those things is a form of dying.
Yeah.
And that's where the paradox comes in, is what I want people to trust is letting go, while it's the last thing you want, actually has the power to give you everything you want.
Yeah.
Because letting go always leads to more joy. Like the story I'm a part of, this Christian story, and one of the reasons why I'm a Christian is this story of life, death, and resurrection is just so real. It's everywhere. It's in me. It's in you. It's in creation. It's biological. It's everything. And so, you know, death always leads to resurrection. Letting go always leads to joy. You know, embracing in nothingness, you discover everything. The great paradoxes the mystics keep telling us about through the perennial tradition for thousands of years. And so the letting go is even the idea of the battle's been won. It's, you know, Jesus says, I have overcome the world. He didn't say you have to overcome the world. He said, I've overcome the world. And there's something within us. We don't realize that along the way in our journeys where it's like we're trying to like fight and win life. Like we're climbing something, we're trying to get over something, we're trying to beat something, we're trying to dominate somewhat. No, hey, this isn't a fight. The battle's already been won. Of course, we use metaphors like fighting we fight for justice, of course. But you're not the one who's responsible for overcoming everything. No, it's already been overcome. And if that's the case, when you talk about being humble, why can I let go? Because I trust that when I do, everything's going to be okay. Every time I've ever let go and embraced that real death, you enter into this liminal, in-between, uncertain space, which feels impossible, and that's why we avoid it. And yet, every time, love, the Spirit, grace, God has carried me through all the way to joy and to resurrection. Every single time I have walked to what felt like an edge in my life, and I've practiced acceptance and letting go and kept walking. Every time I walked to the edge, a bridge to my future was made, but it was not made until I had the courage to walk into the unknown and uncertainty myself. That's what faith is to me. I don't care about abstract beliefs at all. Faith is when you come to the edge of the boundaries of what you thought was yourself, when you come to the edge of, oh, I thought this is how life worked, but it doesn't, and it feels so hard to let that go. When I come to the edge, can I accept that, let it go, take another step, and believe I will be carried through to a larger sense of myself, a greatest? That's where faith gets its teeth and really matters in my life. So
and what a great
letting go,
what a great imagery, just the teeth of it, right? Like that there's a sense of the ability to bite into something, to have a strong hold on something that is for you. Right? The idea that to serve a God that is for us and not necessarily, and again, I think you explained it better than I could ever explain it, but that there is a battle. There is an internal battle, right? But it's the idea of my battle is that I have to figure out how to identify and then surrender to things that I was first taught. The conditions were placed on me that this is who I'm going to have to be if I'm going to be loved, and understanding that was actually more conditional responses and conditional love than I want to look at and realize.
Yeah, that's where even, letting go and that kind of faith I just described, it has its teeth. And by the way, an important thing I don't get into in great detail in the books, that's not what the book's about, but that courageous letting go, stepping over the edge, trusting the unknown, that your life will be enlarged through love when that happens. You don't have to have any abstract religious beliefs to do that.
Right. That's right.
So you can have a Christian who's technically orthodox when it comes to abstract beliefs. I believe in the Trinity. I believe in this. Cool. But when it comes to them walking to the edge of their own life and they don't do it, they don't let go, they just keep clinging on to the old things, they keep staying stuck. Then you have a person who's agnostic. I don't know what I think. I'm deconstructing, or I never was in the church. But for some reason, they just have this trust that there's a benevolence that will carry them through. That person's actually going to be more free in Christ than the Christian who has beliefs but is not doing the actual journey of transformation. So I always find that to be interesting.
Well, and it's part of why your work is so important, and why I hope people are reading all three of your books, that this understanding of that we're not always taught the actual practice within the church as a whole, but it's still our job to seek out what do we practice that allows us to identify what won't let us step more into true self.
Yeah, and even, with your work with people in trauma,
right?
Letting go, stepping over these edges of these boundaries, like some of the work of overcoming trauma is you're stepping over and transcending and trying to have the courage to move beyond what have felt like boundaries for so long. Like fences. Imagine God has invited us into this wide open field, and what happens with trauma in different parts of our life is that wide open field actually is very small. It's a very small enclosed space. And to think I have the agency to not stay in this toxic relationship. I have the agency to not constantly be bullied by this OCD response to trauma that's keeping me stuck here, that where I can't have the courage to live beyond it. To take a step beyond and be like, I've always feel like if I do this, I'm gonna die or not be me, and I won't be safe.
Right.
But to have the courage and the faith to slowly, at our own pace, start to take some steps beyond what have felt like edges and boundaries for ourselves, but actually have been these small things that have been placed there through trauma, through the narratives of other people, through all this stuff. Letting go is required to let go of the need to stay within that old story that says I can't have these kinds of good things, or I can't be loved, and to take a step and take a risk beyond that. That also involves letting go of old protective mechanisms, of old ways of surviving, of old management techniques that help you survive your first half of life that are now getting in the way of the freedom of your second half of life.
Yeah, you just nailed it and described the beauty of therapy and the therapeutic process so well, right? It's so much of it, of just knowing the idea of letting go of believing what kept me safe then. Because when that happens within your system, that coping mechanism that you have, that survival strategy, that part still thinks you're 8 years old. It won't know that 40 years has passed. So what you do now won't completely match. It will be incongruent, and we'll get further and further separate from self. And so one of the biggest things that this is about, what I'm hearing you talk about, is truth. It reminds me of Byron Katie's 4 questions. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she...
the name, but I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with her work like that.
Well, she has 4 questions, and it's so much of what you're saying is being able to kind of step back, get into my essence, look at what I'm thinking, and really be able to question it objectively, observe it without judgment, and to see, is this actually my thought? Is it passed down to me? And is it true? And that's her first question. Is it true? Is it really true? And her question is going to talk about, and if it's not true, who am I without these thoughts? Because we have to identify what we over-identify with, because that's what removes us from self and keeps us tethered to childhood beliefs, ideas, and techniques.
Yeah, I'll tell a story. I think I do tell this story in this book about Because the premise of the book is letting go is not one thing we do. Letting go is that which holds together everything we do.
That's well
So
said.
letting go isn't like something you add onto everything else. Letting go is a part of and flowing through everything we do in order to keep it going well. So each chapter is compassion and letting go, being present and letting go, working for justice and letting go. What does letting go have to do with all these things? And my belief is letting go is required just beneath the surface in a perpetual reality to do all these things well. So you think, what does letting go have to do with being present? What does letting go have to do with working for justice? But to me, it's there to sustain joy.
Yeah.
It's specifically what we're talking about with narratives and beliefs. In 2016, my wife was pregnant. She was like 7 months pregnant. And she was the MC for this event in DC with this network of like church planning network we started with a long time ago, V3. Great people we're still connected with. And my wife's emceeing this event. I think I'm doing a couple of talks there. So we're on the East Coast. And the last night, they're doing, like a communion worship night. Really cool, really amazing old church they were in. And as it was happening, Deb Hirsch, I don't know if people are familiar with her, but like Alan Hirsch, Deb Hirsch, very like missional church, like 15, 20 years ago. Like they were some of the first leaders, like missional church and where this is all going. Amazing people. And Deb came over to us. We had met her a couple of times, and she wants to pray for us and pray for my wife because we're about to have our first kid. So think about it. That's a beautiful gesture. She's somebody I really respect a lot, her work. And I really like her, and her husband are great. So here's this person I admire who wants to come pray for us. So on the surface of it, really simple, right? Seems great. And it was like when she wanted to do that and started praying, she's affirming us and she's encouraging us, right? We're having this moment. It's worship. You know how all those moments are. It's very powerful. And as she was starting to do this, I could feel my ego begin to contract and my heart start to close off because an old story was arising for me in that moment. There was an old story within me that was popping up saying, she has to say this. Yeah. She doesn't truly mean this.
All the protection.
She says this stuff to everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'll just sit here and let her go through the motions while she does it. But I'm like truly starting to distance myself from the moment. And when we talk about narratives and stories and how this works on a practical level, I've always had this weird suspicion when you talk about like core narratives and core beliefs that like I've always questioned people in authority, and I've been very suspicious of their motives. And I've always, it's like I doubted their ability to care for me. So this inherited narrative made a part of me believe that someone in authority who I respect and admire can never be genuinely interested in me or enjoy my presence. Like, that's why I grew up. My greatest fear was like being a burden to people, like overstaying my welcome. Like I would end conversations prematurely so they couldn't end them. Like I had that was in me.
Yeah.
And I could hear the voice of that story saying that and starting to close me off from the goodness and the love that was flowing. And I could feel it and I caught it. I'm like, and another voice came up that's like, Kevin, it's okay to just let somebody care for you. In real time. This is happening in me. She don't know I'm having this whole thing, right? Yeah. I say, maybe she can do this with multiple people and still mean it to you. Just because she affirms other people, it doesn't mean it's not real what she's saying. You can let somebody care for you. And I recognize that protective storyline for what it was. I disidentify with it. I could feel myself letting go of this narrative in the moment. I allowed it to pass by me. So I surrender. I fall into the moment. And then what happens when I did that?
You cry.
I started crying.
Of course. It hits.
Of course. Because I'm like, when I relaxed and let go of this old misguided narrative, I could feel my ego like start to uncoil and I start to open up. I could feel my being expand. It was like I finally was free enough to let the love that was flowing from God through this person towards me just hit me. And there are stories we all need to let go of to be more open to love.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are stories at work in all of us that are getting in the way of God. And there's plot lines in our minds that we've used to protect ourselves from being hurt that now are preventing us from being loved.
Yeah, it's so true.
And that is one example of how letting go is connected with receiving love, because you wouldn't really think about that. So, no, I have to let go of these old narratives I used to protect myself with to receive the love of the presence of a person with me. So that's an important story because it shows in real time how letting go and surrendering was the only way forward for me to receive the love that honestly is all I have ever wanted in life.
Right. No, it's beautiful. And the key words of disidentifying, right? Like allowing yourself to let it pass and not like trusting the experience instead of trusting what you're about to re-experience. Right? Because if it stays the same, it's just a re-experience. It's the same old story. And there's a term called neuroception. Neuroception means that we are constantly looking for cues for safety, threat, and danger. That means that when something happens, you have a physiological reaction, whether you realize it or not. And when you first have that physiological reaction, the story that comes with that, the story you first had is what comes into you. And without doing the work and doing what you did, disidentifying with what you knew first, which is, again, really faith-based, incredible courage, right? To find safety differently, to find safety in God and Himself instead of in what I've always known. Because people feel very safe in disconnection. God has called us to feel safe in connection.
So good.
Yeah. I had
especially for somebody who, even if people met me or heard me on a podcast, they would probably think I'm a lot more naturally extroverted than I am, but I'm not. I'm actually naturally very introverted. And people who are familiar with the Enneagram, I'm a 5. Which is I'm a head person. You want to gain a bunch of knowledge to protect yourself. So when you say people are like feel safe in disconnection, it's scary how naturally the patterns I have create isolation. That's something even to this day, I still have to be mindful of like, my natural response is to not be around or not be connected, you know? And I'm like, I have to be very mindful of being intentional. Connections, my wife, relationships, kids, everybody, because all of my default patterns, if I was on autopilot, are like, I'm just alone again. It's really scary.
No, it's true. And the amount of energy you have in your day, when you're done, you're done. And so be meticulous and being careful and letting it be from a place of love of who you want to save your space for. Right? The intentionality around that is so beautiful. I had one of my favorite people say to me this week, and she was just talking about something. She's a client. I've known her for a very long time, and she brought up the invisible audience, and she talked about how many things she doesn't do out of a part of her mind telling her there's an audience watching her. There's something that she wants to do outside that will help her have a hobby, will help her go and forth and do what she feels like is next in her life. But she's decided that her neighbors are going to watch her and make fun of her or try to ask her, do you want some help with that? Like this incredible narrative that comes in. And the idea of her having to take a second and question if any of it's true. And if it is true, does she have the emotional capacity as a 55-year-old woman to know what to do next? But the story that comes in first, she's 5. So she can't say, no, I don't want your help, but please don't come on my property, or I got this, thanks. Or it doesn't have to be bothered by them saying whatever they say or not, or even if they are watching her making fun of her. It actually doesn't have to affect her. But when there's an invisible audience related to an old narrative, we won't move forward at all over an idea that may not even be happening.
Yeah, that's why, I say that the foundation of my faith is not beliefs I have about God. It's the belief and the knowing that I'm being held by God. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, you're right.
I can have beliefs. I am over here having beliefs that are over there. Even when we talk about being disidentified, actually, even when we talk about deconstruction, evolving spiritually, your views of God are evolving. But that's actually quite a bit easier when you have an experiential knowledge that you are not your beliefs.
Right. Sure.
Because when you're so over-identified, even with the belief system, like, Ken Wilber says, the belief system is not just a belief system, it's a housing for your ego. So your ego treats your belief system, your religious belief system, as a house that keeps you safe and is makes you feel you.
Yeah.
So when someone attacks your belief system, it feels like they're attacking everything that makes you you.
Sure.
And the direct experience of God is to recognize for yourself, to say, oh, I'm not those beliefs. I have beliefs,
right?
And they're fallible and misguided and should be different 5 years from now, but I am not those beliefs. And that experiential knowing changes everything. And so for me, as a person who, Thomas Keating, the great, father of centering prayer in the West, talks about programs for happiness. And I forget exactly what they are, but it's like, some people are more oriented towards like security. Some are more oriented towards affection and esteem. We have our different programs for happiness. And I naturally, in my ego and my default patterns, are like an attention person.
Right.
Like I played sports growing up and did music. It's like, you tell me I did a good job scoring 30 points, but what my soul hears from you is like, you matter.
Yeah, sure.
Because you see me,
if you don't say it, if you don't say it, then you don't matter.
What am I?
Yeah,
the applause of yesterday says nothing about how I feel about myself today. So I got to I got to perform for you again today.
Sure. Right.
Somebody tell me I'm mad. Like you said, great shot. What I heard is I'm lovable. Thank you. Right, it doesn't last for tomorrow, but at least today it holds me together.
Yeah.
And that constant tyranny of needing to be seen, which is to be affirmed and to really have my value affirmed growing up. My primary experience of God in that conversion experience you talked about earlier was there's an immovable center in this universe that is a set of eyes that see me with an ever-present, loving and affirming gaze. That is my dominant experience of God.
Yeah.
And is to this day. Yeah. That right there, when you describe your 55-year-old friend, now it's not that when I do this, the reason why I don't need to do everything to be seen by somebody else is because I trust that even without them seeing me, I'm already seen. That set of things that says, I don't need to constantly worry about the invisible audience or to be seen, to be controlled by the tyranny of they is, I'm going to do things that aren't approved of by everybody or aren't liked or affirmed by everybody. And my goal is not to get them to like me. My goal is actually to have the freedom to express the truth of who I am without the need for them to affirm me. Why can I do that now when you talk about faith? Because no matter what the eyes of somebody else tell me, there is this set of eyes that refuses to look at me in any other way except for a loving and affirming presence. That's what changed. That's why I do what I do now. That's what changed my life when I was 18, was not believing that, but knowing and experiencing that liberating gaze of love. That's like, it doesn't matter what other people say. Because even earlier when you talked about like desires or stories, personally and creatively, I've worked with a lot of creatives and artists, just through my life naturally. And when it comes to that affirming gaze and people being seen, I'm like, and offering our lives creatively, we have to learn how to recognize the difference between desires that are indigenous to the soil of our own spirit and desires that have been planted there by others.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's the
difference. So look, in my life growing up, I had to accept when I was 17 or 18, like I've worked my whole life to put myself in a position to play college basketball. I've done so much to make things happen musically. Now I have the opportunity to do either. But once I have this profound experience of God, or even before leading up to it, I really was like, do I love these things? Do I want these things actually? Or do I just need what they do for my ego?
Yeah.
Do I love basketball? Do I want to do music forever? Or is it just a socially celebrated thing that can make me have a whatever degree of fame, which will then make me feel lovable and special? Like, I had to really say, do I want this? Or have I just been programmed to want these things because I've been told that's what will make me happy? And I realized I don't actually want to do these things.
Yeah.
And that's where the courage coming from that direct experience of God was I had to go against every expectation, everything everybody wanted for me. Like my friends, my family, I worked my whole life to get here at 18. And then I just decided to move away to Hawaii, do nothing, go to a community college and be with my girlfriend at the time. And nobody was happy for me. And everybody thought I made a mistake, and family criticized me, and friends were saying negative things. But I knew exactly what I was doing because the eyes of God seeing me helped me see my life with more clarity. And I lived from that beyond the tyranny of they and the invisible audience, you know? And actually I got the indigenous desires and desires that have been planted from some of Shane Hipp's work. He was with Rob Bell at the end of Rob's Mars Hill. Brilliant pastor back then, great writer. He does like corporate consulting kind of stuff now, something like that. But some of his stuff on differentiation and leading and desires is just super profound if anybody looks him up.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. But see, so part of what you're saying, one of my favorite scriptures is Acts 1:8, right? The last thing Jesus said before he goes to be with God is, he tells us to go witness, right? And I think that's so powerful. And I teach people, in my opinion, what has to be first witness is our own story. We have to compassionately learn how to witness what we've actually been through. And in that, it's storytelling, story receiving, right? Story witnessing. And there's something about witnessing what you've been through, the lens of compassion, that I think then gets us so in our essence and our God self that we then know our purpose. We then know what to do, right? Think how much we hide what we've been through and not look a little bit deeper about what that did to us, what we're believing now, what behaviors we have now because of that. But to be able to look at that, I think that takes more courage than anything, to accurately look at something and decide from that, what do I keep and what do I let go of?
Yeah, it's amazing how invested we are in not seeing things accurately.
Yes. And that goes back into the old story, right? If I stay in my old story, I will see the same thing over and over again, no matter what's actually happening to me.
Yeah. And that's for me, in the book, The Joy of Letting Go, it's the things we've never wanted to accept, the things we never thought we could let go of. What I want to say is that, which comes from facing those things, you have to face them and see them before you can let go of them.
Yeah.
You cannot let go of something unless you have first accepted and taken it into yourself. You cannot accept something unless you've first seen it. So it always begins with awareness. It doesn't stop there, but it begins there. Awareness is it feels like the end, but it's actually just the beginning part of the full journey of forgiveness, acceptance, and letting go.
Yeah.
And what I want to keep telling people, to me, I'm like, Holly Oxhandler, who wrote the book The Soul Helper. Have you heard of that? She's awesome.
Yeah.
She I had her on my podcast. She's awesome. She hasn't been on here. You should try to get her on. She has some great stuff. But she wrote an endorsement for my book and she wrote, and I really like this, and it captures, I think, my writing style well, but she's like, talks about my work as like this playful and profound wisdom, because all I'm talking about is death and letting go. But if you meet me, I'm like a fool, like I joke around, like you'd be like, does this dude take anything seriously?
Right.
But I'm like, well, that's the paradox of the heart of a mystic, is the mystic takes everything seriously and yet nothing seriously at the same time.
Right.
And I can talk about letting go with the playfulness and telling jokes, but I'm also like, and this is the hardest thing you're ever going to do, the acceptance work and forgiveness and letting go. And what I want to keep telling people is, you can trust the letting go. The writer David Foster Wallace says, everything I ever let go of has claw marks on it.
Yeah.
And what I want to say is, it doesn't have to, though.
Right.
You don't have to. We're clinging to, whether it's old narratives and stories, we're clinging to old ego needs. We're clinging to the very things that are getting in the way of the freedom and love we desire. Yeah. It doesn't have to have claw marks, because the more you let go, the more you trust it. Yeah. The more you die to things, the more you trust resurrection. Like That's a frustrating thing about letting go is I say the only way to get better at letting go is by letting go.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't think yourself into it. It's an embodied, emotional, and psychological process to be fully aligned, to let go of something, fall into what feels like an abyss, and to discover you're actually, not only are you okay, but you're more free. And the more you do it, the more you kind of laugh and you're like, I've been here before.
Yeah.
By the way, when I'm talking about the joy of letting go, I am just on the other side of a big form of letting go in my life.
Yeah.
10 years of creating and building and pouring your life out to something. And it just ended 7 months ago or something like that. I'm not all the way on the other side yet. I'm in the middle of it. I'm in that in between space of just starting to take some steps into the next thing. And so I'm not like, hey, 4 years ago I did something and now I'm okay. I'm like, no, I'm in the middle of living into uncertainty. I'm in the middle of, can I begin again at 38? I'm in the middle of trusting something new. And it's like, I'm okay because I've been here before.
Yeah,
I've felt this before. I've stepped into uncertainty before. I've had courage before. And it doesn't mean everything's gone the way I wanted, but every time I've done that, there has been a way that has been made by the Spirit as I'm traveling on that path. And I believe that will happen again with no guarantees, but I get a sense it will because I keep seeing that happen again and again.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's a new story, right? It's just a new story. Even though you've been here before, you're open to a new story. Yeah, and I think that's powerful. And I think that's such incredible faith. So thank you for being a part of this with us. So your book is on Amazon. It's available now.
Joy of Letting Go. It's out and it came out like 9 or 10 days ago. So yes, whenever this comes out, Joy of Letting Go by Kevin Sweeney on Amazon. The first book, The Making of a Mystic, is connected with my page there. People want to follow along more. I'm most active on Instagram at Kevin Sweeney 1, and then my own podcast, The Church Needs Therapy. Yeah. Which if you ever check out for the first time, obviously start with Kim's episode.
Yes.
And then you work your way, and then you go from there wherever it goes.
Right. Then you can listen to all the other great people. All right, I'm gonna put you in the hot seat real quick. This is how we always love to end. Okay. Again, thank you so much. It was so good. So, all right. Simple questions. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay, good answer. What's your favorite book written by Kim Honeycutt? I'm about to tell you number one. I'm about to give you one finger. Does it sound like
the first one that she did?
Yeah, the only one she did, called "But Your Mother Loves You." That one, is that it, Kevin?
Yes,
is that
yes.
it? Okay.
No. But Your Mother Loves You. Okay.
Yes, it's the only one I will never do that myself again. I don't know how you're on your third book. What is your favorite book written by Kevin Sweeney?
Oh man, for now, since it just came out, the substance of the joy of letting go I love, but The Making of a Mystic is special because it was my first one. So that one I can't choose. I don't care. I'm not playing the game that way. I can't choose. I like them both.
They're all good. They're all good. All right. Last question. What do you want your children to know about you?
Wow. I've never had anybody ask me that before.
You're welcome.
That my dad ferociously lived and loved his life and never forgot about us and loved us the best along the way.
Whew, I can feel that. That's so good. And just on that one answer, y'all, that's a really good reason to go check out his books. Please go to Amazon, or hopefully we have a link in our notes. Check out his podcast, The Church Needs Therapy. Find him on Instagram. Make sure he gets more followers. Do what we have to do to help him get attention. And don't forget that I also need attention. So, hey, Kevin, thank you. As always, so good to see you.
No, thanks, Kim, so much. This was great.
All right, flip your lid, audience. So glad to be with you again. I know you heard something today to flip your lid. And I pray you heard something that will help you reconnect to who God says you are. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Please subscribe, rate, and share. You can find Kim on Facebook or Instagram at KBHoneycutt. To get an autographed copy of Kim's book, visit butyourmotherlovesyou.com. Remember, no matter what, treat yourself well today.
nightstand?
I don't have a nightstand, but let's see. Right now in front of me is like a nightstand that's moved from my wife's side in front of me for this right now. So whatever's on my nightstand is enhancing this conversation right now.
Well, it's working perfectly. It's working great. That's awesome. So what do you like best about living in Hawaii?
Well, let's see. I'm on the 37th floor of my building right now, looking out at a rainbow that's going over the water. So that's definitely one of them. But
that is amazing.
My wife and I is just the family. This is where we want to establish roots. My wife and I both surf, and our kids to grow up with the beach, to grow up with the water as just such an essential part of their life is important to us.
Yeah, that's so good. It's wonderful. What food is love for you?
Ooh. When I choose to indulge, any kind of desserts that are like chocolate, peanut butter, cookie dough-ish, cheesecake, ice cream kind of stuff. I'm like, as rich, there's nothing too rich for me.
Right?
There's nothing too rich for me.
That is so great. I love that. What surprises people the most about you?
The people who meet me now are surprised by how I lived growing up.
Yeah.
The people who I grew up with are surprised by what I do now.
I love that. I love that.
Yep,
that's good.
That's
okay, what
it
surprises you the most about you?
Surprises me about me? I think over time that I can keep choosing to really, really care and throw myself into things when in my default personality, it's to play it cool and act like I don't care to protect myself from failure.
Yeah, that's so well said.
Yeah,
all right, final question. From now on, when you hear Flip Your Lid, who or what are you going to think of?
Kim Honeycutt and the amazing time that we had here.
That is the right answer. You are the winner. So good. I love it.
I'm going to be walking by people on the streets and they're going to use the phrase flip your lid in a casual conversation. I'm like, oh, do you guys know Kim too? That's cool.
Like, we're best friends. That is great. All right, Kevin, people want to follow you. They want to read your book, all the things. Tell them a little ways so they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, the book, The Making of a Mystic, comes out May 31st of this year. So find it when the pre-order comes up on Amazon, whenever that is, which I don't know yet. But until then, the Church Needs Therapy podcast. You can type it into Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to them for the most part. And then on Instagram is probably the most updated you'll see from everything I'm doing, whether it's the podcast or the writing or just whatever's happening in my life. So my Instagram is at Kevin Sweeney 1, and that is probably the best place to stay in tune with everything else. So
I love that.
Yeah, writing, some other things, coming up. I actually, have that second book coming out in January. So it's the challenge and the grieving last season leading into the decision to close Imagine. And then, like I've been saying this whole podcast, after the letting go, it's always more love and always more liberation. So that's what I'm sensing into my future right now. And I believe is possible for everybody tuning in when we truly entrust in those letting go moments to the life of God. So
it's so true.
Yes.
So well
more
said.
life for everybody who's listening in.
Yeah, more life, more light. And for all of you, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you helping me reconnect to who God says I am for myself as well through this conversation, through your book. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Kim.
So everyone who is listening, I know you heard something today that helped you to reconnect to who God says you are, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Please subscribe, rate, and share. You can find Kim on Facebook or Instagram at KB Honeycutt. To get an autographed copy of Kim's book, visit butyourmotherlovesyou.com. Remember, no matter what, treat yourself well today.